Well, the Browns held their 9th out of 10 OTA practices today, their last OTA practice open to us. And really, I guess the vibe here for me was this Deshaun Watson stuff is just kind of hanging over everything today. You know, Kevin was asked about it a lot, and he kind of held the line answering questions repeatedly about it, but it was pretty much all he was asked about for most of his press conference. Mary Kay, this just sort of reinforces that this is sort of going to hang around and be part of the story for a long time.
Well, I think the reason for that is because there always seems to be some new development in the case. 2 new suits have been filed within the last week alone. And then, of course, yesterday, the New York Times presented a piece, an investigative piece, that had some new information to it. So anytime something new happens, it's back in the headlines, it's back in the news, and we have to ask everyone about it. And it always seems like something happens the night before we're out here for OTA. So it's going to remain in the news. It's going to remain a topic of conversation until the 24 suits are settled or adjudicated, and it's also until a suspension is behind Deshaun.
And Ashley, it seems like that's going to take a while to kind of get through a lot of that stuff.
Right, and we've talked about it's so hard to predict what an exact timeline for this might look like, even what an exact suspension might look like. We've heard a wide range of possibilities with that regard, and because this is done through independent investigators, I think that just makes it all the more difficult to try to truly predict when exactly things are going to transpire.
Now, the other quarterback that the Browns still have on their roster, Baker Mayfield, as we expected, but it became official today, Mary Kay, Baker Mayfield is excused from mandatory minicamp next week, so they avoid that awkwardness at least.
Yes, I think the precedent was set when the 49ers excused Jimmy Garoppolo. It's sort of like paved the way for the Browns to do the same thing, sort of set the tone for that. So they did do that today, and it's the right thing to do. I mean, could you imagine? The Browns minicamp is going to include some team-building activities. They are going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Now, could you have imagined Baker Mayfield touring around the Pro Football Hall of Fame with Deshaun and whatnot? So, no, that was never going to happen, and this makes complete sense. I think they should continue it on through training camp.
Actually, I am sort of envisioning Baker kind of walking around by himself at the Hall of Fame. So if nothing else, we avoided that.
Right, exactly. And they said, like Mary Kay said, that it's in the best interest of both parties that they go this route. And obviously Baker Mayfield's been rehabbing his shoulder injury as well. So no real way to know exactly what's going on with that without him here. But overall, this is just something that makes sense. I think we all figured it was just a matter of time, not a possibility of whether or not this would happen.
Now, the one thing that really did happen in practice today that stood out, the noteworthy thing, was Cade York kicked for it the first time in front of us. And he showed off that big leg. He only missed one kick, but after he missed that kick, he went back to, it was probably 62 or 63 yards, Ashley, and he absolutely drilled it.
Yeah, it was about, we were trying to figure out, it was hard to see from where we were standing because we were behind the other players and behind where Cade York was actually kicking from. But yeah, I believe he went 6 for 7, topped it off with a field goal around the 60-some yard range. And overall, I think that's what they expected from him. And so far, again, this is the first time we've seen him kick out in Berea. It's the first time they've actually had all their goalposts up for him to even do that. So yeah, he delivered when he got his moment here in OTA's number 9.
And Mary Kay, next week we're going to get to see him kick at the stadium.
Well, now you guys know why I thought they should have picked him in the 3rd round. But no, I think the Browns are very, very excited that they have their kicker. And I think he showed out there today, like you guys said, why they were able to grab him, or why they did grab him in the 4th round. And like you said, we'll watch him kick at the stadium next week.
All right, full coverage of everything that happened here at the final OTA practice open to us. Next week is mandatory minicamp. We will see all 3 practices at all 3 locations that they're going to be at next week. It will all be at cleveland.com/Browns.